New videos every day.
So what is happiness? How can someone reach their full potential? And what is the needs that all humans share in common? In the last video, I talked about psychology and psychiatry and how they mainly emphasize the negative side of mental health. And I said I would be doing a video later on what Maslow's definition of what mental health is. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. What is mental health really? Abraham Maslow belonged to a school of psychology called Humanistic Psychology. And what Humanistic Psychology is it focuses on the full potential of a human being. So you could call this positive psychology. Instead of focusing on the negative aspect like mental disorders or psychosis, you would focus on the positive side, like making a person better, or how can you make someone reach their full potential. Maslow is most known for his theory of human hierarchy of needs, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. Behind me is the chart of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, you may have seen this chart in high school or college in a psychology class, but I'm going to point out a couple things that you probably weren't taught in school. So what I'm going to do is go through each level, and I'm going to give you a few examples. But what I want you to do is compare these to your own personal experience and see if you haven't observed these in your own life. So we have a pyramid, and there are 5 levels, and each level represents human needs. At the top, we have a person who has achieved his full potential, or actual mental health, and Maslow called this self-actualization. Now, in order to achieve self-actualization, you need to fulfill the needs of all the levels. Because if you at any time fail to fulfill the needs of a level, you get stuck at that level. So let me give you an example. At the top, you have creativity and personal expression. So let's say we have a ballerina, and she is really awesome. She's at the height of her career. Now, a natural disaster happens, and she can't find any food. So at this point, she drops down to the very bottom level and is only concerned with raw survival. She has to put aside her art and creativity. At the bottom, we have physiological needs: breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, and excretion. So this is pretty simple. If you need food and you're really hungry, your entire existence becomes finding food. And if you need air, you're swimming in the pool and you need air, you'll do whatever you can to get above water so you can get a breath of air. And if you need to go to the bathroom, you'll put everything on hold so you can get to a restroom. So at the bottom, we have needs for immediate survival. Either these needs are met or you die. And if these needs aren't met, they become the entire focus of your existence. At this level, you have primitive man. Hunters and gatherers, nomads. They spent all of their time trying to find food. Well, they didn't have time for anything else, so their existence was focused on this first level. The next one is safety needs. Security of body, of employment, of resources, of the family, of health, and of property. So these are still survival needs, but they're not immediate survival needs. They're a little more long-term. But still, if these needs aren't met, you feel that your survival is threatened. So here's an example. Maybe you can remember not having a job. The bills keep piling up, but you don't have any money to pay them. So your attention is on finding a job, because if you don't find a job, your survival is threatened. Also at this level is your physical health. Now, I'm sure you can probably remember a time that you've been sick. And you may not die in the next 5 minutes, but if you didn't handle your sickness, you could eventually die. Also at this level, we have the safety and security of your family. If someone threatens your child, that becomes your priority. So if your physiological needs are met, and your immediate survival is taken care of, and your safety needs are met so that your survival is guaranteed over time, then you have time to concentrate on something a little higher than just mere survival, and that brings us to the next level. And this is love and belonging needs, which would include friendship, family, and sexual intimacy. You start to concentrate on relationships, and you start making friends. You start to date to maybe meet a mate, and maybe you can even join a club. Now remember, anytime the survival of the lower levels isn't being met, you would go down to that level until it gets handled. For example, I'm sure you've heard of a couple getting together and then one of them loses their job and it starts to affect the relationship. Or how many times have you seen a married couple fight over income or jobs? So when people's social needs aren't met, people are usually unhappy. And this leads up to loneliness, isolation, social anxiety, and depression. Notice the difference between humanistic psychology and conventional psychiatry. In psychiatry, if you're depressed or you have social anxiety, you're given an antidepressant or you're given a medication for anxiety. And in humanistic psychology, they would assume that your social needs aren't being met and they would find you people to be with. So you may be thinking, whoa, social anxiety is a real thing. It's a real thing. Well, I'm going to give you a little example. I have a friend who was really, really shy, and he had total social anxiety surrounding women. But then he met a woman at work and started to date her, and his social needs had become met. They were starting to become met. So soon enough, he had no more social anxiety around women. He no longer cared what women thought because his social needs were being met. So the next level is esteem needs. Self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect by others. So this is how people feel about you and how you feel about yourself. It would be self-esteem and reputation. So probably the easiest way to explain this level would be to give a few examples of some people trying to fulfill these needs. For instance, have you ever seen how much attention a teenage girl puts on her clothes? Or have you ever seen someone trying to keep their good reputation? Or have you ever had a friend who was really embarrassed in public and was concerned about being embarrassed? And when someone's esteem needs aren't being met, they can suffer from low self-esteem or an inferiority complex. So take a look at your life at someone who is always worried about what other people think and worried about their self-esteem, and you'll get a concept of what esteem needs are. And the last one is self-actualization. And this is when someone has achieved their full potential. And it includes morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, and acceptance of facts. Maslow had a list of 15 characteristics that a self-actualized person has. Now, I don't have time to go over it in this video. That'll be the next video. But that is actually the definition of what mental health really is, at least Maslow's definition. Now, here's something you probably didn't know. Maslow came up with another level above self-actualization. He came up with a level called transcendence. And from that came the school of psychology called Transpersonal Psychology. But that's another video. And in another video coming up, Maslow came up with 8 things a person could do to become self-actualized. What are those 8 things? Thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate all the people that comment and rate my videos, so thanks again for that, and please continue to do so. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you next time.
There are over 350 videos on our channel, and I doubt you've seen them all. And the topics range from weight loss, nutrition, sexual health, all the way to psychology and mind control, and anywhere in between. And I think if you check them out, you're going to find some really interesting stuff.